Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we take that stack of sources you've gathered, the articles, the notes, the research, and we really boil it all down into something clear and actionable.
Exactly.
And today, we are tackling, I think, the most fundamental question. It's one that plagues every single person who's trying to achieve a long-term goal.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether it's sticking to a fitness plan, mastering an instrument, or, and I know this is a big one for many of you listening, successfully learning a new language like English.
It's that constant internal battle, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
it's just part of being human. We start things with so much excitement, so much energy,
Right.
but then, it just sputters out. Our listener and so many others, they want to learn something and they want to do it well, but the biggest obstacle is just keeping that momentum going after the initial fun part is over.
And that failure, it almost always ends with the same thought. I just don't feel motivated anymore. She see motivation as this, like, holy grail. And when it's gone, that's the enemy of progress.
Yeah.
So today, our mission is to go deeper. We're going to do a deep dive into the difference between motivation and consistency. And we're going to figure out, based on your material, which one is the real foundation for unstoppable progress.
Exactly. And I think if we look at the big picture here, we're really examining the difference between a fleeting feeling and a robust strategy. We have to unpack this core question. People use "I'm not motivated" as an excuse, right? But is motivation even the right tool for the job?
For long-term success. Yeah.
We're going to show that, while motivation is a fantastic way to start, it's an absolutely terrible thing to build your future on.
Okay, so to really do this right, we need to spend some real time on that trap, the one we all fall into when we rely on that initial burst.
Okay.
So let's unpack motivation first. What is it, really? When we're talking about starting something new, the sources define it as that initial feeling, right? That high-octane excitement, the energy, the psychological push that makes you want to start.
And not just start, but start big. It's that immediate emotional buy-in, and it feels incredible. It's the moment you decide, okay, that's it. I'm going to study English for 2 hours every single day. I'm all in.
Right.
And its great value, I mean, we can't dismiss it, is that it overcomes inertia. That's often the hardest part of starting anything new. It gives you that power to just jumpstart the engine.
And your notes have these really specific examples of what that feels like. It's not just a small feeling. It's when you get super pumped up. And it actually triggers actions, like spending money. You go out, you buy the new notebooks, the fancy pens, maybe you subscribe to an expensive app or a course. You get all the evidence of your new commitment.
And you're already picturing the end result. You're thinking, with this much energy, I'll be fluent in 3 months. Easy.
It's like a high, isn't it?
It is. That's a great way to put it. That initial energy feels like momentum, but it's really just a high. And that's a vital distinction. It's often your brain giving you a little dopamine hit just for planning to do the work.
Before you've done anything.
Before you've done any of the hard stuff, yes. The danger is that you mistake that surge of enthusiasm for actual long-term commitment. You've invested in the idea of the goal and the tools for the goal, but not in the boring day-to-day process.
Okay, I get that. I get the startup high.
Yeah.
But if it's so good at getting us started, why is it such a terrible foundation?
Yeah.
Why can't we just keep that feeling going?
And that right there, that question brings us to the inherent flaw of motivation. It's just not reliable for sustained progress. And the reason is it's based entirely on feelings.
Right.
And feelings are, by their very nature, inconsistent. They change constantly. They depend on everything, how you slept, what you ate, stress at work, family issues, even the weather.
Of course. And the sources detail that. That very predictable fade-out period. You might have a few amazing days, maybe even a perfect first week where you're just on fire. But then reality hits, and what happens when that novelty, that excitement, just wears off?
It disappears because the real work of learning something, especially a language, is, let's be honest, it's repetitive. It can be tedious, it's challenging. You hit that intermediate plateau where progress feels slow, and the tasks are just drilling vocabulary or grammar patterns over and over.
And that's when the excuses start.
That is when the excuses creep in.
It's that classic internal monologue, isn't it? I'm just too tired today. Or I had such a stressful day, I deserve a break.
Or the worst one, the most dangerous one. I'll skip tonight. I'll just do double tomorrow.
Never happened.
Never. So the critical insight here, the thing you really have to internalize is this. If you rely only on motivation, your schedule is basically dictated by your mood.
Yeah.
So if you feel tired or sad or stressed or even just a little lazy, which we all do all the time, you won't study. And that inconsistent effort always leads to minimal progress or no progress at all.
Yeah.
It's like trying to power a factory with a book of matches.
A disposable lighter, yeah. Yeah. So if motivation is that unreliable flash, what's the solid foundation? What's the generator we should be building on?
That solid ground is consistency. That's the unwavering anchor.
Okay, so let's define that. If motivation is the feeling, consistency is the action, right?
Yeah.
Independent of the feeling. The material defines it as doing something regularly, even when you really don't feel like it.
Even when you actively dislike the idea of doing it, it's about building a routine, building a habit, so you effectively remove your dependence on that fleeting emotional state.
The focus totally shifts then. It's not about being emotionally ready, it's about mechanical implementation.
Exactly. Consistency is just showing up
Yeah.
every day. Even if you can only do the absolute bare minimum, in the long run, how well you did on one particular low-energy day doesn't matter at all.
It's the showing up that counts.
It is the uninterrupted act of showing up that matters.
I love the analogy in the sources about brushing your teeth. It's so powerful because everyone gets it.
It's the perfect example of a deeply automatic habit. I mean, think about it. You don't wake up in the morning and do an emotional check-in to see if you feel motivated to brush your teeth.
No, I'm just not feeling the toothpaste today.
Exactly. You just do it.
Yeah.
It's integrated. It's non-negotiable. The debate in your head has been eliminated.
So the goal then is to take that same psychological trick, that automatic, non-emotional obedience, and apply it to learning English or going to the gym or whatever the skill is.
You want to make it as automatic as those 3 minutes in the bathroom every morning. And the way that happens is through the habit loop. Habits are built on a simple pattern, a cue, a routine, and a reward.
Okay.
Consistency is what locks that loop in place. So the cue might be 7 a.m., the routine is your 10 minutes of study, and the reward can be as simple as the feeling of success, of not breaking the chain.
So the routine is everything. By doing the action every single day, the brain just learns the pattern and it stops asking for your permission. It bypasses that whole internal negotiation.
Yes, that debate is what drains your willpower. So you shut it down before it can even start. The action becomes automatic. It becomes part of who you are.
And that's the core takeaway for you listening. Motivation is a solar flare. It's hot, it's bright, and it's temporary.
But consistency is like gravity. It just stays. It's the anchor that guarantees you keep moving forward no matter how you feel inside. A tiny commitment done consistently will always, always beat a huge, motivated, but erratic burst of activity.
It's that compound interest of learning.
That's it, exactly.
Okay, to really drive this point home, the source material gives us 2 really powerful case studies. They show the failure that comes from relying on motivation and then the breakthrough that comes from consistency. Let's start with David and his journey to the gym.
David's story is, it is a textbook example of the motivation trap, especially with fitness goals, which are so prone to that initial hype.
Absolutely. So phase 1, motivation failure. David starts with super high motivation. He wants to get in shape for a vacation.
He feels that rush.
He does. He buys all the new gear, the expensive clothes, the special shoes, and he pays for a full year-long gym membership up front.
And that's the trap right there, isn't it? Investing in the trappings of the goal, the accessories, instead of the real cost, which is just the commitment to the schedule.
And that first week, he felt so good he went every single day for like 2 hours.
And that short-term success, it tricks you. It's fueled by novelty, and it makes you think your method is working.
But then, the second week, he starts to slip, maybe 4 or 5 times. His body is sore, the novelty is fading. And then by week 3, the sabotage starts.
All the excuses.
The classic excuses. Oh, it's raining, I'm too tired, I feel a bit weak today.
And what's the end result? Motivation is gone. Because the boredom set in and he had no system to fall back on. A whole month goes by. He hasn't gone to the gym once.
And he's just left with this expensive membership and this feeling of failure.
Yeah.
So the lesson there is just so clear that initial excitement, it cannot sustain a long-term, uncomfortable commitment. When the feeling goes, the action stops.
So then, fast forward a year, David tries again. This is phase 2, consistency success.
Yeah.
And this time, he completely changes his strategy. He consciously decides to ignore how he feels.
He focuses only on the system.
Only on the system, a non-negotiable system.
And the system was brilliant because it was so simple. It was just one clear rule. I will go to the gym every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for 30 minutes, no matter what.
And notice the focus there. It's not on the intensity of the workout. It's not about setting a new personal best. It's about just showing up.
Right. presence at the venue.
That specific, repeatable rule is what removes the daily debate. It forces your brain to treat it like a fixed appointment. And the analysis in the source material is fascinating. After about a month of just sticking to it, the mental energy he needed to go just plummeted. It became a habit.
No decision needed.
No motivation needed. Monday comes, you just go, because that's what you do on Mondays. The routine overrides the emotion.
Okay, let's turn to Emily's story. This one's about learning the piano, so it's more of a creative or intellectual skill. And it perfectly shows how even things we're really passionate about still need a system to survive the boring parts.
Emily's phase one, her motivation failure, was maybe even more intense than David's. She was so motivated. She had this vision of playing these beautiful classical pieces.
So she buys the expensive keyboard, she finds a teacher.
And fueled by all that excitement, she's practicing for an hour, maybe more, every single day.
That sounds like an amazing commitment. So where did it go wrong? She was putting in the time.
It went wrong because it was built on that emotional high. The sources say that after about 2 months, the boredom just kicked in. And why? Because learning an instrument isn't always fun. It's tedious work. It's endless scales, finger exercises.
That's so relatable for language learners. You're excited about having conversations in another country, but then you realize you have to memorize 3,000 irregular verbs first.
Precisely. The motivation just evaporates. So Emily's practice schedule just falls off a cliff, down to once, maybe twice a week, for 20 minutes. She starts feeling guilty. Her teacher notices.
Read what happens.
She quits. After 4 months, she quits, feeling completely disappointed. And worse, she concludes that she's just not musically talented.
Wow.
The lesson there is that motivation alone, it can't survive the repetition required for real skill.
So she learned her lesson.
Yeah.
Phase 2, consistency, success. She comes back to it later with a totally different approach.
A highly strategic approach.
Right.
And the rule she made was just brilliant. It was all about the minimum viable commitment.
Which was?
I will practice piano for 15 minutes every morning before work. No exceptions.
15 minutes. That's the key detail, isn't it? The duration was so short that it wasn't scary, it wasn't overwhelming.
It completely eliminated the excuses.
You can't say you don't have 15 minutes.
Exactly. If it had been an hour, her brain would have fought it. But 15 minutes, that's doable. And that small, non-threatening commitment is what allowed the habit to stick for almost a year. And that's what led to real, tangible progress.
Okay, so we've established that consistency is the answer.
Yeah.
Now let's get practical. What does this mean for you, the listener, trying to stick with learning English? We've distilled 4 really practical steps from the sources to build a blueprint.
And these steps are all designed to do one thing: remove friction, to eliminate the need for decisions and take emotion out of the equation.
Okay, step 1. Start small and establish the minimum. This comes directly from Emily's success. You have to start with a ridiculously small commitment, like just 10 minutes of focused English practice every day.
The psychology here is so important for forming habits. If you start too big, say 2 hours, your brain just sees it as this huge, overwhelming task.
A threat.
A threat to your time and energy. It triggers resistance. But 10 minutes, your brain just goes, okay, fine, I can do 10 minutes. There's something called the 2-minute rule. If you can't bring yourself to do the whole activity, just do the first 2 minutes. If you're supposed to read a chapter, just read 1 page. If you're supposed to study for an hour, just open the book for 2 minutes.
Because the key is that completing that minimum, whatever it is, that satisfies the rule of consistency. Consistency isn't about the size of the effort, it's about the frequency.
And that minimum protects you on your worst days. When you are totally exhausted or stressed or sick, you know you only have to do 10 minutes. It ensures you don't break the chain. And what's interesting is once you start,
We often keep going.
you often keep going. 10 minutes turns into 20 or 30. You've tricked your brain into overcoming that initial inertia.
Okay, step 2. Schedule it and to treat it like an appointment. This is a direct attack on procrastination. You remove all the ambiguity.
You have to get rid of that vague, self-defeating idea of, oh, I'll study English sometime today. The material is really clear that this is just a license to procrastinate. Before you know it, it's 10 p.m., you're tired, and you've done nothing.
So the advice has to be super specific. Pick a time. A specific time block every day. And importantly, link it to a habit you already have.
Yes. Don't just say in the morning. Say at 7 a.m., right after I finish my coffee. Or at 9 p.m., right before I look at my phone.
And this turns it from an optional activity into a non-negotiable appointment. You wouldn't just skip a doctor's appointment, right? You need to give this the same weight.
And after a few weeks of being really strict about it, Your brain automates the response. The cue finishing coffee triggers the routine English practice. The willpower is no longer needed for the decision itself.
Okay, step 3. Remove obstacles and make it easy. Basically, eliminate friction. Because if starting your practice takes any effort at all, you've just given yourself an excuse.
We have to proactively find those obstacles. An obstacle is anything that adds a step. For a language learner, that could be looking for your book, finding your headphones, waiting for your computer to turn on.
Or even just deciding what to study.
Yeah, that's a huge one. Trying to think of a topic to speak about. Each of those little micro decisions drains your willpower before you've even started the actual learning.
So let's give some really practical tips. If your goal is reading, get everything ready the night before. Open the article or the app on your computer before you go to bed. So in the morning, it's just one click, no searching.
If you're practicing speaking, which takes a lot of mental energy to start, prepare your topic the night before. Write down 3 specific questions to answer out loud. This eliminates that 5 minutes of just staring into space trying to think of something to say.
You want to make the path of least resistance the direct path to your goal.
Exactly.
Okay. Step 4, track your progress. This is so important because, as we said, progress is slow. It's often invisible day to day. Tracking gives you that hard visual proof that what you're doing is actually working.
And that proof is the most powerful kind of internal motivator there is.
Much better than the initial hype.
Oh, much better. One of the best ways to do this is the don't break the chain method. You get a big physical calendar, put it on your wall, and every single day you do your minimum commitment. You draw a big fat X on that day.
The psychology of that is so strong. Once you have a chain of, say, 15 X's in a row, you feel this immense pride, and you will hate the idea of breaking that chain.
The calendar becomes your accountability partner. You don't want to see that empty square. You don't want to go back to 0.
What are some other ways to track?
Journaling is great. Just write a few sentences every day about what you learned. You get 2 benefits there. You're tracking your progress and you're practicing writing. Looking back at an entry from a month ago and seeing how much better you are now is a huge reward.
And for speaking, which can be the most frustrating one.
You have to record yourself.
Yeah.
Just a simple voice memo on your phone. Once a week. Answer the same 3 questions. Then after 2 months, go back and listen to your very first recording. Well, the improvement in your pronunciation, your speed, your confidence, it will be obvious. And it immediately fights back against that feeling that you're not making any progress.
We spent a lot of time championing consistency. But let's look at the relationship between the two. Is motivation just useless once you have a habit?
No, not at all. It's a nuanced positive relationship. It's a cycle. Motivation is absolutely essential as that initial spark. You need it to overcome the inertia of starting. But once the fire dies down, consistency is the engine that keeps things running.
They have different jobs.
Completely different, but complementary jobs.
And this leads to what I think is the most fascinating part of this whole thing, the positive feedback loop. This is where the real magic happens. When you are consistent, the inevitable result is progress.
Real, measurable progress.
And that progress is the most reliable, organic source of new motivation.
This is the critical shift in thinking. The bad approach is motivation leads to action, which is unreliable. The good approach is consistent action leads to progress, which then generates powerful internal motivation.
It creates a cycle that feeds itself.
Yes.
We saw it with Emily. When she was just hyped up, she quit. But after a month of her consistent 15 minutes, she realized she could play a whole song without mistakes.
And that feeling, that result, felt amazing. It made her want to learn the next song.
Or for our English learner, you force yourself to listen for 10 minutes every day for 6 weeks. Then one day you're watching a show and you just understand a line of dialogue you wouldn't have before.
That's it. That feeling of, wow, this is working, I did this. That is genuine motivation. It comes from earned results, not from hype.
So on those days when motivation is low, and it will be, the key isn't to wait for the feeling to come back. It's to connect with your deeper why, your purpose.
Purpose is what motivation pretends to be. Motivation is a feeling, but your purpose, the real reason you started this journey, that's resilient. It could be a better job, the ability to travel, or just watching movies without subtitles.
And that core reason doesn't change just because you had a bad day.
Right. So the most actionable thing you can do when you're in a slump is to write down your ultimate goal, your core reason. Look at it when you feel like quitting. Purpose is so much more powerful than a fleeting feeling. It's your compass in a storm.
Okay, but we have to be realistic. Life gets in the way. Sickness, travel, emergencies. It happens. What do you do when you inevitably miss a day.
This is maybe the most important part of sustaining a habit. Consistency is the ideal, but it's not the same as perfection. And the most important rule here is forgive yourself and then get back on track immediately.
Don't let one missed day turn into two.
Or 3, that's the danger zone. We fall into this all or nothing trap. We miss Monday, so we think, well, the week is ruined, I'll just start again next Monday.
And the whole habit collapses.
The antidote is the never miss twice rule. You missed a day. It's fine, it happens, forgive yourself, but you get back on the horse the very next day. Consistency isn't about being 100% perfect.
If you practice 6 out of 7 days a week, that's still an incredible success.
It's an 85% success rate over a year. That's amazing. The goal is to show up most of the time. You protect the habit by never letting a second break happen.
That feels like a huge relief, actually, because that pressure to be perfect is often what makes people quit after one tiny mistake.
And to get through those low moments, we also need to talk about community, about accountability. Learning a complex skill all by yourself is incredibly difficult.
Especially when you hit those plateaus and you start to doubt everything.
Community is like your reserve battery. It's there when your own internal power is completely drained.
So what does that look like? Accountability.
It means having someone who notices if you're gone. A study partner, a small group, a tutor. It provides that necessary external push. Sometimes just the thought of not wanting to let someone else down is enough to get you to do your 10 minutes.
It adds a social cost to quitting.
It does. And it's not just pressure, it's encouragement. When you feel frustrated, your community can lift you up. They can remind you why you started. And maybe most importantly, they can tell you that you are making progress, even when you can't see it yourself.
They normalize the struggle.
They normalize the struggle and remind you that you're not alone on this long, hard road.
So let's bring this all home for you, the learner. This deep dive has given us, I think, a crystal clear answer to that question we started with.
Consistency beats motivation. Every single time.
Motivation gets you started. It's that spark. But consistency, that's the engine that keeps you going through all the slumps and the bad days.
So you have to shift your focus. Stop trying to manage how you feel and start managing what you do.
The action plan is simple. Build the habit, schedule a specific time, make it ridiculously easy to start, and track your progress so you can see your success building day by day.
And remember, you do not need to be perfect. You just need to keep showing up most of the time. Trust the process. The biggest mistake is letting one missed day derail everything. Forgive yourself and get right back to it.
You know, the real lesson here is pretty profound. The people who achieve these massive life-changing goals, they're not always the most talented. They're not the luckiest.
No. The real winners, the successful learners, they are defined by one single quality. Their sheer willingness to show up and do the work, even when it's boring, even when they don't feel like it, and even when progress feels invisible. That commitment to the routine over the rush, that is the true key to success. Master consistency and you will build unstoppable habits.